Hi Year 7, so this is my second video. I've just done a video for the Hegarty video and questions 178. So I'm just going to go through 179. Hopefully this will help out and hopefully kind of give a little bit more clarity to these two-step questions. Now, the number one thing that is really important to understand is to understand which step we're going to do first, because there's two steps to each question. And the reason there's two steps, if I look at this question here, so it's 3x plus 2 equals 12. And the reason I know there's two steps is because I want to leave x on its own. Therefore, I want to get rid of this 3, and I want to get rid of this 2. Okay, so I want to get rid of the 2, and I want to get rid of the 3. So there's two things I need to do before I have x on its own. Now, before I start, what I'm going to say is I'm going to try and recap what Mr. Hegarty said on this, but I watched the video, and Mr. Hegarty's explanation is really good. So I would just go back and kind of rewatch, even if it's just the first few minutes of that, and then I'll go through the questions, okay? So the start of this question is just working out what I'm going to do first. Now, the way Mr. Hegarty looked at it was 3x plus 2 equals 12. If we go back to the worded questions where we were saying, okay, I took a number, I multiplied it by 3, and I add 2. You can see that if I take my number, I multiply it by 3, and I add 2, I'm going to get 12. So what you can see here, what they've done, I started off with x, I times it by 3, I had a number, I multiplied it by 3, I got 3x, I then added 2 to that, and I was left with 3x plus 2. So the opposite of that, to get back to x, I effectively can do the opposite. So like I said in the previous video, the opposite to plus 2 is take away 2. So 3x plus 2 take away 2 will be 3x. The opposite to multiply 3 is divide by 3. So 3x divided by 3 is x. Now we can see with this second part, this is a slightly different type of question that they'll have. Because it's in brackets, we can see that what they would have done if we had started off with a number, we would have had a number, and because obviously BidMaths, we do the brackets first, we would have had x, okay? We would have started off with a number, added 2 to that number, and then multiplied the whole thing by 3 to get 12. So when I said we did the brackets first, we did x, we added 2 to that, got x plus 2, and we times that by 3, so we got 3x plus 2. Okay, so we got 3x plus 2. Now, even though I'm saying we did the bracket parts first, which was the plus 2, because we went plus 2 and then times by 3, we're going to go back the other way in the opposite direction. So it's going to be 3x plus 2. Let's draw my brackets in there. The opposite of multiply by 3 is divide by 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3. It's going to be x plus 2, because what this actually means is 3 times by x plus 2. So I'll divide by 3 to get x plus 2. Then I take away 2, and I'm left with x. Okay. So hopefully that gives some clarity, and it might be worth, while you're just trying to get your head around this, working out what the process would have been to get each of these from x, and go step by step, right, okay, x times by 3 gave me 3x, add 2 to that is 3x plus 2, and then go the other way to work out what you're going to do first. Okay, once you know which ones you can do first, I'm going to do the minus 2, then the divide by 3, you can do it to both sides. Okay. One way that I've always looked at this is, if you have 3x plus 2 equals 12, if I wanted to do the divide by 3 first, if I wanted to do divide by 3, dividing this by 3 gets me x, and I could divide the 12 by 3 to get 4. But what I can't do is actually divide this whole side by 3, because if I divide this by 3, I also have to divide this part by 3, and then I get into fractions and it becomes quite sort of difficult and not particularly nice. So what I'm going to do, whenever I see something where it's something multiplied and then I'm adding something on, I'm going to get rid of the number on its own, and then I'm going to do the division or the multiplication. When that doesn't apply is when I have 3 multiplied by x plus 2. It wouldn't make sense for us to try and get rid of this 2 in here, because I've got 3 lots of this x plus 2, so I can't really just take away that 2. Because I've got 3 lots of this bracket, what I want to do is get rid of this 3 first, and leave just the x plus 2, so then I can deal with this x plus 2. So I'm going to get rid of that 3 by divide this side, and then I can deal with the x plus 2. Okay. So that's the difference between the two questions. That's sort of my thinking on it. But again, this method here does work quite well if you're new to it. So I would go back, watch Mr. Hegarty's explanation and try and get your mind around this if you're struggling with which bit to do first. Okay. Let's have a look at two different questions on this. Again, the key to it is that I'm going to do the same to each side. I'm going to have one more step, but at each step I'm going to do the same to each side. Now 11x plus 4 means that I took a number, I multiplied it by 11, and then I added 4. So I'm going to take away 4 as my first step, because this is a plus 4, and I know that my plus is opposite to a minus, and my times is opposite to a divide. So I'm going to do take away 4 as my first step. So I've taken away 4 there. That means I've got 11x equals 103 take away 4, 99. It's looking nice and simple now. I can see that these numbers work. My next step is I'm going to do another one of these. Because 11 times by x, 11x means 11 times by x, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do divide. So I'm going to divide by 11. That would be x. If I do 99 divided by 11, x equals 9. I like it when the numbers work out. All right, let's have a look at this one. So on this one, I've got 4 brackets x minus 8 equals minus 36. Now again, I don't want you to worry about the negative numbers, okay? We've worked with negative numbers before. That's fine. As we bring it down into each step, just keep the negatives as they are, and then we can deal with it if we're adding or taking away, okay? You're all good enough at negative numbers to be fine with that. So 4 lots of x minus 8 equals minus 36. Now, because if I started off with a number, I took away 8, and then I times that by 4, I know that I did my x minus 8 first, and then I multiplied it by 4. So I'm going to work backwards, and I'm going to get rid of this 4. If that means 4 times by x minus 8, because there's a hidden symbol there of times, I'm going to go to my top. The opposite of multiplication is divide, so I'm going to divide by 4. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Okay, so I'll be left with x minus 8 on this side, and I'll be left with minus 36 divided by 4. That will still be a minus, okay, because I'm dividing by a positive number. Minus 36 divided by positive 4 is going to be minus 9. Now I've got x minus 8 equals minus 9. Being really careful with the negatives here, I'm going to do the same on each side. Okay, x minus 8 equals minus 9. Because this is a minus 8, okay, this is a minus 8, I'm going to go to the top and think, what's the opposite to minus? The opposite to minus is a plus. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to plus 8 to get x on its own. Therefore, I'm going to do plus 8 on this side. Minus 9 plus 8 is going to leave me with minus 1. Okay, so really careful. We're just doing the basic things of, minus 9 plus 8 becomes minus 1. If I had minus 9 take away 8, that would become minus 17. If it was minus 9 plus minus 8, that would become minus 17 as well. Okay, so just being really careful with those negative numbers. Okay, I really hope this has helped. Please do let me know if you have any questions by email, and I'll try and answer them.